September and welcome back to my channel. You are joining me from my greenhouse and I thought today I would walk you through potting up some of my new scented pelargoniums. So I've got this pulled up on my phone so that I make sure to get the details correct. The online retailer I purchased these from is Mountain Valley Growers. I believe most, if not all, of what they grow is classified as organic. And just keep in mind, if you do choose to order from them, they do have a minimum plant order, at least for the scented pelargoniums. I did have to purchase at least 6, which was not difficult to do. I love pelargoniums, so any excuse to purchase more, like, you really don't have to twist my arm. So I'm going to read out the ones that I purchased. So I have the Prince Rupert lemon scented geranium, the old fashioned rose scented geranium, the peppermint scented geranium, apricot scented geranium, and the attar of rose, which is the one I think a lot of people maybe favor the most. And I've had one in the past, it didn't do so well, so fingers crossed that we make it work this time. And then the last one I purchased was the fringed apple scented geranium. Now these have varying degrees of smells. Honestly, when I pulled them out of the package, I didn't notice a strong scent to any of them, but that obviously might just be because they were a little bit dehydrated when I got them from the trip and definitely needing a little bit of attention. So before I start potting these up, I'm going to show you each one individually and sort of read out the description given on the website. So this one is the apricot scented geranium, and this one produces what looks to be really pretty bright pink flowers. So one thing to note about this geranium, I'm just reading from the website, it does say it doesn't smell like an apricot. But it does have a nice scent and it is a highly decorative plant. Sometimes with the scented pelargoniums, if you sort of rub the leaf a little bit, it'll release more of the aroma. Still not really getting a scent from that, so it's possible it's just a little too dry still. I'll go ahead and show you a little close-up of what the leaves look like. Alright, so this next one is the peppermint geranium, and this one says new leaves tend to be crinkly and extra gray, but unfurl with age and become flatter and darker green. The undersides remain gray and the stems take on a grayer appearance than the leaves, which makes for an attractive complement of colors. So here is a close-up of the leaves. They have this woolly, kind of fuzzy, felted feeling to them. Alright, this next one is the beloved attar of roses. Many of the pelargoniums are used for culinary purposes, and this one produces very beautiful pink flowers that can be used either as a garnish or in things like jams or sorbets or jellies. So this one, when I rub the leaves, I get a very strong scented rose geranium smell, definitely the strongest of the bunch. It smells so good. And here's a close-up of the attar of roses. Alright, the next one is fringed apple. So their website says this looks a lot like the nutmeg scented version, but that the fragrance is more of a sour apple candy. Ooh, let's test that out. I definitely get that sour candy smell that they're talking about. It has almost like a little bit of a lemongrass hint to it as well. I don't know if that's just my nose picking that up, but very unique scent. As you can see, this one definitely needs a little bit of TLC. She has quite a few yellowing leaves on her. So here is a close-up of the fringed apple. Alright, so just 2 more here. This one is the old-fashioned rose. So this is another one that's commonly used for baked goods. So you could make things like infused sugars or decorate the tops of cakes, all sorts of things, jams, etc. And this one also produces really lovely pink flowers, just like the attar of roses. And here is a close-up. So here is the final variety, which is Prince Rupert. Just an interesting little piece of information from the website. It says that the Victorians like to put the leaves in bowls of water to cleanse their fingers at the dinner table. Get a really lovely citrusy lemon smell. So this is the Attar of Rose, and because I don't have a little plant label for now, I'm actually going to take this plastic container that the plant arrived in, with just the name of it real quick. So here's our little temporary plant label so we don't forget which type she is. And in case you're curious, both of these pots are by the brand Berg's. All right, so we're gonna pot her up next. She is the old-fashioned rose variety. One thing to note about pelargoniums is they need very well-draining soil. They do not like to have their feet wet. You can find a good soil recipe online, but I usually do some perlite, sand, compost, and just regular all-purpose garden soil. All right, and we'll create our little temporary plant label. All right, next, I'm really excited to use this antique English pot. I actually got it on my recent trip to England. I scored it in an antique shop and was super happy to find it there. Another thing to note about pelargoniums is they do actually grow fairly large. They grow, I think, about roughly 2 to 3 feet, some varieties. And so you'll want to continually repot them as they get larger, and also make sure that they don't get root bound. And I think there's even a root trimming technique that's recommended. If you're like me and you live in a climate where you can't have these outdoors, they basically live as container pots all year round in my house here in Ohio. So I gotta make sure that I am continually checking them so that they're not getting root bound or they will die. I think I have just a little bit too much perlite in this soil mix, so we'll see how these do. Almost forgot to do my plant label real quick. Another thing about these plants, I believe they originally are from South Africa. So they like lots of sun. So if you do keep them in your house, you'll want to make sure they're in a location that gets full sun. Another thing you can do with these is actually take cuttings. So it's a really great economical way to actually expand your plant collection, or if you want to give them as a gift to a friend or family member, or if you just have like an older plant that you want to revitalize and kind of restart fresh with. I've never tried to take cuttings before, but I do have a pretty mature pelargonium in my house right now that's getting pretty big. So maybe we'll take a cutting of that one and see if we could regrow her here soon. You can really see I've gotten to the bottom of the soil mix I prepped, and there's a lot of perlite that was sitting at the bottom. So it's hopefully not that big of a deal because I'll probably repot these again soon. So that's all the new scented pelargoniums potted up, and they're ready to come inside with me. One of the recipes I look forward to making every fall is pumpkin bread. I was introduced to pumpkin bread by my 5th grade teacher who, around the time of Halloween, brought in the recipe and also brought in these cute pumpkin-shaped cake molds that we use to bake the bread in. This recipe is definitely not the same, but I like to think that that experience influenced my love of pumpkin bread today. I get a lot of my gluten-free recipes from the website Mama Knows Gluten Free. I've been making this pumpkin bread from her recipe for at least a couple of years, and it comes out amazing every time. I do make some substitutions and adjustments to the recipe. I add in a little bit less sugar, and instead of vegetable oil, I do swap with olive oil. That's just a personal preference of mine, but if you're gluten-free or maybe just don't mind following a gluten-free recipe, I highly recommend checking this one out.